Hello again, you're watching View from Stormont. The news that Liz Truss will be the next Prime Minister means one thing for Brexit: more battles with Brussels. Suzanne Lynch writes for Politico in Brussels. Kevin Doyle is from the Irish Independent in Dublin. Kevin, we knew that Dublin said that it would prefer Rishi Sunak. How's this going to go down?
Yeah, there was a real hope that there would be a reset here when there was a new British Prime Minister, because it wasn't really a secret that they had moved the government here into and much of the EU into anybody but Boris space. I think there is concern that things now are going to get worse before they get better with the arrival of Liz Truss in number 10 Downing Street. They don't trust her. They don't believe that her politics is very sound, and they're quite worried that she's already been trapped on her way to number 10 Downing Street by many of the more hard-wing Brexiteer and the ERG group within her own Conservative Party.
Suzanne Lynch, how long will the honeymoon last in Brussels then?
Not very long, I predict. It's interesting, though. Today we've had some very mixed reactions. So we had a quite restrained response from EU officials here. Ursula von der Leyen, Maros Sefcovic and Charles Michel, who made an attempt at humour in a tweet that referenced the Beatles. But they were all said they wanted to work constructively with Liz Truss, but they all said that this needed to be within honouring existing agreements. So that is really code for the Northern Ireland Protocol. They are saying that they do not foresee a situation where they could accept Britain reneging on parts of that protocol. However, there was a very different response from some national capitals across Europe. And we saw politicians and prime ministers from countries like Estonia, Lithuania, from Finland as well, with a much warmer tweets and much warmer statements of congratulations. And they talked about defence cooperation, etc. That is telling us, and that is illustrating the links that have built up between those countries in the East and the appreciation they have for the UK's role in the Ukraine war. So that might be some comfort to Liz Truss tonight, that she's getting that more positive reception from countries in the east of Europe.
Well, Kevin, what if the new Prime Minister does tear up the treaty which created the Irish sea border?
Well, I think people feel there will be a lot of noise before that happens. Obviously, there's a lot of domestic issues that, let's be honest, the Conservative Party and most voters certainly in England care a lot more about than what is happening with the Northern Ireland Protocol. So I think there's not many that believe in government buildings here in Dublin that her first item on the agenda is Northern Ireland at all. So they sense that there is a little bit of time. They hope that she will come quite quickly and have some sort of meeting with the Taoiseach, whether that means he goes to London or indeed Liz Truss comes here on one of her first overseas visits. But let's be honest, there is a concern that it could happen, or Article 16 could be triggered, but there has to be some talking before that. So I don't think anyone's hitting the panic buttons today.
Suzanne, if Liz Truss plays her hand badly here, she could end up in a trade war with her closest trading partner.
Yes, this is where ultimately this would end. If we get to a stage, as Kevin said there, we're not at that stage yet, but if we got to a stage where Britain was to invoke Article 16, or start reneging on major parts of the protocol, that is ultimately what the EU will do. They've reserved the right and the power to do that. Now, this would, at the moment, this is all under the European Commission negotiating mandate. So Maros Sefcovic is running the show here, but they are getting feedback from national capitals. So what we'll be seeing is, as always, the position of France, of Germany, the big countries are important here. And I don't think it's gone down too well Liz Truss's comments about the French President Emmanuel Macron last week when she was asked, was he an ally, a friend or foe? And she said something like, oh, the jury's out. I mean, that's not how prime ministers usually talk about their allies. France is an ally of Britain. That's reality. It's a NATO partner. And it works very closely in terms of defence. So I think that went down badly in Paris and didn't bode well for a kind of a flourishing of Franco-British relations under Liz Truss.
Finally and briefly, in that case, Kevin, what will be the message from Dublin to Liz Truss?
Come talk to us. Let's not do anything rash. Let's try and stop the populism and get down to serious business. There's been an awful lot of talk about negotiations, but there's been very little actual negotiations.
Kevin Doyle and Suzanne Lynch, thank you both very much. Now, still to come, the thoughts of tonight's commentators, Alison Morris and Peter Sherlow, are coming up after this short break. Do stay with us.